All right, here we are on GU with the markups first, and let me start everything with the 15-minute markup. As you can see here on the 15-minute markup, technically we had a really nice, perfect range sweeping concept. However, the short continuations did not happen because the range sweeping concept says that after the after if price sweeps the upside first, then it will sweep the downside of the range second, and price will continue its way down into the second sweep direction. It did not happen in this case. Price has just made 50-minute change of character to the upside, and technically there were two possible entry POIs on the 15-minute higher time frame POIs on the 15-minute time frame, and I have created some plans based on the 15-minute time frame, based on this picture on the 15-minute time frame. As you can see, technically there was a 15-minute supply zone mitigation. During yesterday's live session, we were expecting longs at this movement right here, but it did not happen. We had a stop loss hit somewhere around here, which was a pretty valid stop loss hit because price wasn't mitigating any valuable demand at this point, and we could expect shorts down to this 15-minute demand. As you can see, the mitigation happened during today's London session right here. And the London session started somewhere around here. That is 9 a.m. So yeah, price has mitigated the supply area first, swept the range high at this point because this was a range. As you can see, this was the 50-minute high point, low point, because the 50-minute has changed character technically on this point and made a new breakout structure on this point. So at this point, the bearish 50-minute had bearish order flow. On the 15-minute time frame, price has mitigated this supply area, which has caused the breakout structure right here. After the mitigation, price swept the range low liquidity into this 15-minute demand, where we could expect a reversal, especially after this liquidity creation, but it had its own liquidity, so it wasn't necessary for the price to flip this zone and sweep the downside liquidity to just below the 50-minute demand area, because it had its own liquidity and it wasn't necessary for the price to sweep the liquidity from below the 15-minute demand. And as you can see, after a really nice reaction, price has just changed character on the 15-minute time frame, and it was on its way up to flip this 50-minute supply. Why was I expecting a flip and not a reaction? Because price has already mitigated the 50% of this higher time frame zone at this point, so this 15-minute supply could be considered, and it has to be considered as fully mitigated zone, and I wasn't expecting a reversal after the full zone mitigation right here, even though there was liquidity. So yeah, it was an already mitigated area, and after the 15-minute change of character, price was hesitating at this point, but from this 15-minute demand area, price has printed a volume candle and left behind a newly formed demand area. On this newly formed 15-minute demand area, I was expecting a confirmation entry or a flip. If a flip happened, we could take shorts down to this extreme 15-minute demand area, where could we expect a new bullish confirmation entry, or if a flip happened that I did not draw it right here. If a flip happened, we could take shorts down and targeting this huge liquidity pool and targeting an extreme 15-minute demand, because there is still an extreme 15-minute demand area. And also after the flip of this 15-minute supply, we could expect the continuation to the upside up to this 15-minute weak supply area, which was the next valuable supply area. And technically these were the plans based on the 50-minute time frame. Let's take a look on the 5-minute time frame, and on the 5-minute time frame we could identify a valuable 5-minute demand too, which has caused directly the 50-minute change of character. There was a small hesitation, small stop in the market, and after this small hesitation, small stop, prices caused the 50-minute change of character directly from this 5-minute demand area. And it has, because of this 5-minute demand, we could be able to create two more possible entry opportunities, possible expectation or order flow. The first one was the confirmation entry on this 5-minute demand and take longs up to this supply area right here, or we could target this high point if a reversal has started from this point, or if a flip happened here, we could take shorts down to this extreme 15-minute demand area. So this is a 15-minute demand, this is a 5-minute demand at this point, and this is another 15-minute demand area. I have marked these 15-minute demand areas on the 15-minute markup, and this is the newly formed, actually newly marked 5-minute demand area. And technically these were the plans for this session based on GBP USD. And yeah, also on the 15-minute time frame, on the 5-minute time frame, sorry, this 15-minute demand looks like it was part of this liquidity right here, because price was technically building up liquidity for this 5-minute demand area. But let's take a look on the real chart. But to be honest, nothing interesting happened on GU. As you can see, the flip of this supply area happened with news movement once again. Actually, the news wasn't able to it wasn't enough. It wasn't strong enough to flip the 15-minute supply directly. The flip technically happened with this candle, but there was an inefficient 5-minute demand area. Let's take a look on the 5-minute time frame. As you can see, here is the 5-minute candle, which zones 50% hasn't been mitigated, and price created liquidity inside of it. And beforehand, before this 5-minute demand area, there was a 5-minute, actually here was the 50-minute demand zone mitigation, and in this case price has mitigated the 50% of it. So in this case we couldn't wait for a 50% mitigation, because it has been considered it's as an already mitigated 50-minute demand area. So in this case, especially on the 1-minute time frame, technically we had this 5-minute demand area where we could be able to wait for long confirmations after this liquidity creation. As you can see, price made a deeper mitigation, made a 50% mitigation, but after this 15% mitigation, technically the 1-minute change of character did not happen. This was the last recent high point in this case, because the breakout structure happened right here, but this whole movement was technically completely efficient. And personally, I would rather wait for a break of this high point, break of this supply area, because this whole movement on the second time frame could be liquidity creation. And even though if price sweep this liquidity, what could be expected after the liquidity sweep? We could expect the continuation to the downside. So I would probably wait for a confirmation entry, a change of character at this high point, because this was the last recent supply area which has caused breakout structure here, and also it was the origin that has caused the breakout structure here. So not a single change of character happened at this point. Technically, this was the high point that has caused the breakout structure here, but it's not the real movement where I want to, but where I'm usually marking change of character. So it's a messy price action at this point, and even though price reacted right here, technically not even a change of character happened, because there wasn't a new breakout structure at this point. So if a breakout structure happened here with body closure, technically we could mark out this high point as a change of character, but it did not happen. So there wasn't any change of character. This was not an entry POI. This was not an entry POI. And also, what could we identify below this area? Technically, here was a clear trendline liquidity. And as I wrote on the 5-minute markup, technically this whole movement right here seemed like liquidity for this 5-minute demand area. And as you can see, price has swept some liquidity from this region, but it also created an almost perfect double bottoms liquidity. So in this case, I would not execute a trade at this point. And also, I believe there was 15-minute body break, 5-minute body break below the 5-minute demand. Actually, yeah. So this 5-minute demand has been broken at this point. This 15-minute demand has been already mitigated. So 50% mitigation did not happen on it. So there wasn't any opposite, then any demand zone mitigation. So in this case, I would not execute a trade on this entry POI, because a base criteria was missing, which was a higher time frame zone mitigation. And technically that's all, guys. It was a pretty boring session in overall, both on EU and GU, but it happens sometimes. We have to adapt to it. Not every day is a trading day. I did not execute any trade today, but probably I would execute the long opportunity on EU right here, even though it would turn out as a break even, because after the reaction, technically a break even point has been broken. And after this break even point, as you can see, just at the end of New York session, it would swap us out in break even. It would swap me out in break even. So yeah, technically that's all, guys. I really hope you can grab some value from these recaps, and take care. See you guys tomorrow in London session.